like, subscribe, and leave a comment. So thank you for joining us today on another episode of a review of Raw and Smackdown, week commencing May 1st. So basically it shows all the new drafts. Kicks off basically with them showing all the new drafts that happened last week on the first day of the draft. Then Triple H comes out and basically starts drafting more people. So he basically also states that Brock Lesnar is a free agent. He can go anywhere he wants. He can show up what he wants. He can does what he wants. Basically, they put Brock Lesnar where they need to put Brock Lesnar. Simple as that. So they stated that Rhea Ripley is going to Raw, Austin Theory is going to SmackDown, Seth freaking Rollins is on Raw, and Charlotte Flair, is going to stay on SmackDown. Then Paul Heyman comes out and basically says that Roman Reigns has got a few things for him to do, and Roman Reigns should be back. And really, Roman Reigns should go after the Raw title, but they said Roman Reigns not allowed to do that because he's only on SmackDown. Then Paul Heyman starts to badmouth all the wrestlers in the back. Then Seth freaking Rollins comes out. Obviously, the crowd is singing. Oh, yeah, obviously they're singing. Seth says Roman's safe now on SmackDown because Seth can't get his hands on him, so Roman's in a safe place basically, and says that Paul Heyman and Roman must be happy about that. And then Seth starts to threaten Paul Heyman, and then Solo comes out for the save, and then a match has been made with Seth versus Solo in the main event of the evening. Then we got Cody turns up, and he's basically Adam Pearce says to Cody he doesn't want him to fight, doesn't want anything crazy happening tonight. Cody's like, yeah, I'll take a rain check. Then we had Bayley and Dakota versus Raquel and Liv Morgan in a really good match. It was a non-title match, but Bayley won, so congratulations to Bayley. Then we have Booker T and Queen Sharmell. Announcing the new drafts. As they were doing the new drafts, Brock turns up basically, and then Brock basically states, Adam says to Brock he wants peace basically, and then the draft. So then they show a flashback of Brock versus Cody, Brock beating down Cody. That happens as well. So then the drafts are KO and Sami Zayn are going to Raw. The Usos will go to SmackDown. The Judgment Day are going to Raw, and the LWO will be on SmackDown. Will remain on SmackDown. Then we had a tag team match. We had Ricochet and Braun Strowman versus the Alpha Academy in a great match, which Ricochet won. Congratulations to Ricochet. Then we had HBK and Adam Pearce announce the drafts. Then we had, before the drafts were announced, there was a flashback of Bud Bunny versus Priest, obviously hyping up their match at WrestleMania Backlash in a street fight. Then Brock Lesnar comes out. He arrives because obviously HBK and Adam Pearce are meant to announce the new draft, but Brock Lesnar just randomly turns up in a trench coat Brock, and basically he says he's the only real cowboy in Texas. And then loads of security come out because obviously Adam Pearce doesn't want anything to happen. Cody comes out and attacks Brock and actually splits Brock's nose. I think he actually draws blood on Brock. I don't think that was meant to happen. Then we have HBK telling us the new draft. So you got Liv and Raquel to Raw. Oscar is going to SmackDown. The New Day are going to Raw, and the Brutes will be staying on SmackDown. Then we had KO and Sami Zayn, Riddle all talking in the back. Obviously Riddle likes to talk a lot. KO was just not happy with Riddle talking, so I think something's going to happen there. Then we had Jimmy versus Riddle in a really good match. Obviously both of these wrestlers are awesome, and Riddle got the victory. Then in the back you had Paul Heyman talking to Solo, sort of talking him up, saying he's got an assignment to do that's been given to him by the tribal chief. Then Jay basically turns up and goes, wait a minute, we just had a match at ringside, where's Solo been? Paul Heyman said he needs Solo in the back, focus on his match for tonight, so we will see what happens there. Then we had Eric Bischoff and RVD giving a new draft pick. So more draft picks. So Trish Stratus is going to Raw, Karrion Kross to SmackDown, Shayna and Ronda to Raw, and LA Knight, to SmackDown. Then we have The Miz come out. He interviews Shinsuke, and basically Miz calls himself a workhorse, says he can do it all, and obviously he's one of the best in the game. And then Shinsuke says, like everyone says, Miz has tiny balls, and then proceeds to flatten the Miz. Then we had Omos versus some guy. Obviously, Omos won. Then we had a flashback of Triple H talking about the new world champion that's going to be crowned at Night of Champions in Saudi Arabia. So let's see what happens there. Then we had Molly, Holly, and Road Dogg, Jesse James announcing a new draft pick. So we had Braun Strowman and Ricochet to Raw, Shotzi to SmackDown, Bronson Reed to Raw, and Pretty Deadly, called up from NXT, are going to SmackDown. Then we had Judgment Day. They basically say they run Raw. Rhea's there, Damian Priest is there. Damian Priest starts calling out Bad Bunny. And soon as Dominic gets on the mic, he gets booed heavily, and he starts calling out Rey Mysterio, and Rey Mysterio come out with the LWO. So we had the Judgment Day versus the LWO in a very competitive match, but in the end, Damian Priest got the win. Then in the back, you had Cody Rhodes saying Brock Lesnar is human, and Cody Rhodes has to win against Brock Lesnar no matter what, and his back is against the wall. Then we have Damage Control basically face to face with Bianca Belair. Io Sky calls out Bianca Belair, as obviously they're going to face off at WrestleMania Backlash. Then there's been more announces, more draft picks. It says Alpha Academy to Raw, Rick Boost to SmackDown, and NXT call up for Cameron Grimes, who's going to SmackDown. Then in the main event of the evening is Solo versus Seth in a good match that got started, that was going well, but it ends in DQ due to a big brawl including the Usos and Sami Zayn and KO. So that was that. Then we go on to SmackDown in Puerto Rico. Firstly, it comes with Ray and the LWO come out. The crowd is obviously cheering for Zelina. It's a big chant. As she's about to speak, Judgment Day come out, and obviously Dominic is heavily booed again. Then they make a tag team match in the ring. Zelina and Ray versus Rhea and Dominic Mysterio. So that'll be the main event of SmackDown. Then the first match is OC versus Viking Raiders in a good match, which the OC won. Then we also announced that the new World Champion tournament starts next week on Raw, and it goes to SmackDown, and the winners face at Night of Champions in Saudi Arabia. Then we have Bianca Belair come out. Basically says if she wins on Saturday night, which is tomorrow, she will be the longest reigning SmackDown, longest reigning women's champion in modern history. So she has to win. And obviously, Io Sky comes out. Bayley's talking for Io Sky, saying how they're going to check her ego and she's not going to beat Io Sky at Backlash. Then she starts to get a beat down, and Liv and Raquel come out for the save. Then we have Karrion Kross calling out Shinsuke Nakamura. He's been doing that for a few weeks. They're going to face off tonight. Then we have the Bloodline in the back. Obviously, the Bloodline are hyped because it's going to be a 6-man tag at Backlash. And Usos are asking Solo, is he ready? Is he down? Uso delayed on the answer, so Jay pressed him for the answer, and Solo basically said, I'm going to do my part, you better make sure you do yours. So we'll see what happens there. Then we had the Street Profits versus Imperium in a really good match. In the end, Street Profits win. Then we have a flashback on Cody versus Brock. So we're all hyped for that match. I believe that's going to be the main event. The way it's looking, it's going to be the main event because Roman's not there. Then we have Cody. Cody comes out, basically calls Brock a gatekeeper and said he's ready for Brock and is going to beat the reason out of Brock to why he attacked him in the first place. So we will see what happens there. Then we have KO, Sammy, and Riddle in the back talking, and basically said they're ready to fight. And Riddle wanted to know if they had anything to add to the interview. KO and Sammy goes, no, I think you've said enough. Then we have Shinsuke versus Karrion Kross in a really good match, a decent match. But in the end, surprisingly, Shinsuke wins the match. So I think that's Karrion Kross's, I think it's one of his first losses. I haven't seen him get pinned a lot. So yeah, congratulations to Shin. Shin now moves to Raw. He's been drafted to Raw. Then we have a back and forth with Cameron Grimes from NXT, going back and forth with Baron Corbin about him being the last pick in the draft. And they're going to have a match next week on SmackDown. It's also announced that your tribal chief, Roman Reigns, the head of the table, the Universal Unified WWE Champion, is going to be on SmackDown next week. And then in the main event of the evening, it's Ray and Zelina versus Dominic and Rhea in a really good match. But in the end, it was a good match. It was a really good match. But in the end, Ray got the pin. They got the pin in Puerto Rico, and straight after the pin, Ray was beaten down, and then the LWO come out for the save with Bad Bunny. Bad Bunny's there holding a kendo stick, and basically a big brawl breaks out, and Bad Bunny goes after Priest, because them two are going to be facing off at WrestleMania Backlash in a street fight, and he swings the kendo stick at Bad Bunny at Priest, but misses and hits Dom. So we will see what happens. But that's your review of Raw and SmackDown. Like, subscribe, and leave a comment.